everybody. Welcome to Keeping It Real with Dennis Aloia. Except you can see that Dennis Aloia is not here. My name is Chris Massey, and I'm filling in for Dennis tonight. Dennis is in Chicago, and the reason that I'm doing this show is because they could not get anybody else in the network to be here. There is no way I was the first choice to do this show. Okay, so Dennis, I know you know that, and I just wanted everybody else to know that I was the last resort. You know, I am just one step above running a rerun. But anyway, I'm awful glad to be here, and I am joined by my sound engineer, Mr. Al Burrows. Al, how are you this evening?
Good.
Doing good. Any concerts with the SOS band you've been doing lately?
Yeah, we're going to be in Atlanta this weekend.
Really? Where at?
Out at Wolf Creek.
Oh, okay.
Camp Creek. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Great.
With Cameo and a bunch of that. So, yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yep.
My band, the Chris Massey Band, we just did a show at the Avondale Town Cinema this past Saturday night, and it was a great show with the Downtown Executives and Steve Cullen. We're going to be back there in December, is what we're shooting for. The 24th, we are going to be at Cowboys in Milledgeville, Georgia. October 29th, we will be at Southern Comfort in Conley, Georgia. And November the 5th, we will be opening up for the Western Sizzlers, which features Rick Richards from the Georgia Satellites at the Star Bar in Little Five Points. So we're really looking forward to doing that. Okay, so because I was called at the last moment, we do not have a guest tonight, so you're going to get me for the full 30 minutes. So here's your opportunity to either put on your seatbelt or change the channel. Okay, all right, you ready? All right. Right now, about a month or so ago, Hillary Clinton was leading in the polls by 10 points. And now it has come down to just about a dead heat, just in time for the presidential debates. Al, don't you think that's kind of convenient?
That's awfully convenient.
Yes. Make no mistake about it. The networks need a tight race going into the debates. I know a lot of you Republicans are saying that that's bullcrap. You know that he is actually up there with her in the polls. But, you know, the national polls are very misleading. And let me remind you that Mitt Romney, before the debates with President Obama, was running real close with him. And let's face it, that race was never close. It never was. Mitt Romney knew that it wasn't close. That's why he wasn't campaigning in Pennsylvania, a key swing state, just 3 weeks before the election, because he knew that he wasn't going to win. Now, in a national poll, let's say you give Donald 25 states and you give Hillary 25 states, okay? And let's say that Donald is winning in his 25 states by 18%. And in Hillary's 25%, she is only winning by 10%. Okay, so in a national poll, because Donald Trump is beating her in his states by a wider margin, that is going to make the national poll more balanced. And the way it is right now is that Hillary Clinton's states have a lot more electoral votes than Donald Trump does. Right now, if you penciled in the states that are for Hillary and the states that are for Donald Trump, and what I mean by that is that the margin in the polls is so much that these experts do not feel like the other candidate can make a serious run. In those states, Hillary Clinton has 240 electoral votes. You know how many Donald Trump has?
Couldn't guess.
126. 126. Now, the rest of the states are what we call battleground states or swing states, and there are some new swing states in this election, like Georgia, which has always been one you could pencil in for the Republicans. Hillary is competing well in Texas. North Carolina, which is usually a Republican state, you can just about pencil that one in for her. Arizona, Colorado, and other states. So to break it all down, Donald Trump is going to have to run the table on these battleground states in order to win. Now, could that happen? Well, sure it could, you know, but it is not likely that he is going to be able to do that. Now, as we're getting closer to the debate, which will be on, I think it's 3 weeks from tomorrow?
Something like that, yeah.
3 weeks from tonight. Yeah, September 26th, the first debate. Donald Trump was in the news, and Donald says that what we need to do is have a debate with no moderators. Could you imagine? Could you imagine a debate that involves Donald Trump with no moderators? You know, and the reason he said that is because the system is rigged, he says, and he is going to be treated unfairly. Which, you know, and talk like that tells me that he knows he's going to get his ass kicked. Okay? Because if not, what he would be saying is something like this. Well, I don't really care who the moderators are. It really don't matter. I'm going to win these debates and show the American people that I'm the right person for president. But that is not coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. You know, nothing close is like that is coming out of Donald Trump's mouth. And I got to tell you, you know, if he gets up there and goes with the crooked Hillary and makes all these accusations toward her that most of them are based on speculation created by Fox News, all he's going to do is make Hillary look, make her look presidential. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, what about the speculation? Well, let me just give you a prime example of what I'm talking about now. I don't know if you saw this, but a week or two ago, Megyn Kelly comes on her show, The Kelly File, and it starts out with her saying, breaking news, the State Department has revealed 30 Hillary Clinton emails that contain information about Benghazi. Okay? Then it shows her in the middle with a guy on the left and a guy on the right, and they're debating this topic. Okay? Now, the guy that's watching at home, you know, all he's focused on is how good looking Megyn is, you know, and he's not really paying attention to these other two guys. While this is going on, there is a caption on the bottom of the screen, and you know what it says? 30 Hillary Clinton emails discovered that may contain information about Benghazi. That may contain information. But see, people don't read that. And then they go to the water cooler the other day. Hey, did you hear? They got 30 emails on Hillary about Benghazi. She's going down now. And that's just not true. That is just not true. Now, Hillary made quite a bit of noise here with this comment she made about a segment of the Republican voters being deplorable. Okay? And of course, she's talking about people that are racist, homophobic, Islamophobic. I've never heard anybody say that word before, but I guess that is a term to be used. And the Republicans are all up in arms about this. You know, well, I don't know what you're all up in arms about because you're in denial. Okay? I mean, let me just tell you right now, if you are a person that is racist against minorities in America, there is about a 99.999% chance that you are a Republican. Okay? That's just the way it is. You know, and if you are an atheist in this country, you're more than likely a Democrat. I mean, that's just the way that the demographics lay out. But you know, I don't really know what all the big uproar about it is. I mean, you know, in the southern states are the states where you know, we're the most racist section of the country. I don't think anybody would argue with that. And you know, and those people exist down here, and they exist in Texas and in other places too. I thought it was very humorous that a few weeks ago, Donald Trump went to the state of Mississippi to talk to a room full of white people about what he's going to do for black folks. Let me tell you something. Donald Trump is probably the only Republican nominee to go to Mississippi and hold a rally and lose votes at the rally. Let me tell you something. Those white people in Mississippi don't want to hear anything about what you're going to do for black people in their state. Yeah, for crying out loud. All right. Now, one of the things that's always been a problem with the Republican Party is they let guys like Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity dictate the platform in their party. You know, Rush Limbaugh, millions of people listen to this guy, and Sean Hannity and Fox News in general. And anyway, we've got a little stat tonight that we're going to give you that you might find surprising. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the last 12 presidential elections. We're going to go back to 1968 when President Nixon ran against Hubert Humphrey. Now, did you know that President Nixon refused to debate Hubert Humphrey? There were no debates during that election, and the reason why was because many say in the debate in 1960 with John F. Kennedy, which was the first presidential debate ever showed on TV, that's why he lost. And he wasn't taking no chances. So he refused to do it. And he won. You know, Donald, you might want to think about taking that route. Anyway, we had 6 elections between 1968 and 1988, and the Republicans won 5 out of those 6, and they won the popular vote 5 out of 6 times. Okay, the only loss they had was to Jimmy Carter in 1976. Now, Rush Limbaugh came on the air in 1988, 2 months before the George H. Bush and Michael Dukakis election. Okay, Fox News, I believe, came on the air in 1992. Yeah. 1994, somewhere in that time. Okay, well, between 1992 and 2012, there have been 6 elections, and in these 6 elections, the Republicans have lost the popular vote 5 times. They have won the White House only twice. So that means in the last 6 elections, the last 24 years, the Republicans have only been the majority in this country 1 time. Let me break that down to you. Since Rush Limbaugh has been on the air spewing his fat mouth with his nonsense about how evil liberals are, the Republicans have been the majority in this country 1 time. In the 5 elections that Fox News has been on the air, spewing their nonsense every night, all things based on speculation. I mean, they're just 1 step ahead of the tabloids, in my opinion. Since they've been doing that, the Republicans have been the majority in this country 1 time. You guys aren't helping. I mean, you're really not. I mean, you know, y'all just keep on talking and you keep on losing. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is because the Republicans refuse to reach out to blacks, Hispanics, gay people, women, and young people. Okay, I mean that is basically what the problem is. And you know, the blacks, Hispanics, the young people, the women, and the gay community make up about 30% of the vote. Okay, so you're giving the Democrats 30% of the vote before the race even starts. Now, if we take a pie and we're going to split it up, and before we even split it up, you're going to give me 1/3 of it, it's going to be hard for you to get the majority of what's left. And that is what the problem is. It was the problem for John McCain. It was the problem for Mitt Romney. And it certainly is the problem for Donald Trump. Donald Trump, come this election, is going to find out how few white conservatives there are in this country. All right, we're going to take a little break and come back. We're going to talk about something else. Stick around. We'll be right back.
American Hearts Radio, bringing the hearts of the world together.
All right, we're back. We're now going to turn our attention to the wild world of sports. That's right. We're going to do a little sports talk here on this segment. Currently, the Atlanta Braves sit at 56-88 with 18 games left to play. The Braves only have to win 7 of them to avoid a 100-loss season. Now, I don't know if you were following the Braves in the first of the season, but it was almost certain that these guys were going to lose 100 games. They fired the manager. They brought the cat up from AAA, who has done a fantastic job. I mean, they're still playing about 12 games under 500, but he really turned it around. The acquisition of Matt Kemp from the Los Angeles Dodgers has certainly helped out. Freddie Freeman is having a career year at first base. And Dansby Swanson, the shortstop they brought up from AAA, looks like he is going to be the real deal, and he will be penciled in to start come next April. Now, the thing that's really intriguing about this is the Atlanta Braves go into this offseason with the most money to spend ever in franchise history. Did you know that? That's right. After unloading all those big contracts and not hiring any high-priced free agents this year and taking it on the chin like they have, they sit next season with a lot of money to spend and some promising young players, which could be the recipe for success. A lot of people don't remember that back in 1991, they had a very young pitching staff with Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, and Steve Avery and some other very young players. And they went out in the offseason and they were able to sign Terry Pendleton, Sid Bream, and Raphael Belliard to play shortstop. They came over, and then they had some other acquisitions: Otis Nixon, Alejandro Pena, and that combination with that young talent got us all the way to the World Series. And by the way, we finished last the year before that happened. So I'm not saying that the Braves are going to make the playoffs next year, but they should be in contention to be in contention for a wild card spot, which is all good for everybody since we're going to be moving into that new stadium next year, and we're going to be waiting for a place to park and not get into the game until about the fourth inning. All right. Okay. Now, the Atlanta Falcons opened their season this past Sunday and were defeated by the Tampa Bay Bucks 31-24. This is the third time in a row that Tampa has beat the Falcons. Now, I'm just going to tell you like it is. These guys on sports talk radio, they got to be a little politically correct. Well, I don't. And I'm going to tell you right now, Arthur Blank doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I mean, he just doesn't. You know, he hires this guy, Dan Quinn, who has been a defensive coordinator. He brings in an offensive coordinator, Mike Shanahan's son. And what does he do? He comes in and installs an offense that Matt Ryan is not used to running. Okay? I don't know if you watched any of the tape, but Matt Ryan was pretty successful in what we were doing before. One of the things the Falcons offense has been successful at is running the no huddle. He doesn't bring it into the game until it's way too late. These guys don't know how to draft. In the draft 2 years ago, they had the 8th pick in the draft. Now, when you're picking 8th in the draft, you have got to pick an impact player. Todd Gurley from the University of Georgia, running back, was sitting right there for them to take, and they didn't do it. Instead, they picked Vic Beasley, a 255-pound defensive end from the ACC. Todd Gurley went on to win Rookie of the Year with the Los Angeles Rams and is regarded as one of the best running backs in the league already. Vic Beasley, he gets tossed around like a rag doll. Every game. Every game. The guy's too small to play defensive end, and he's too slow to play linebacker. You know, I mean, dadgum. The gutter guy that sings in a country band knows that. How the hell do you guys not know it? And you're getting paid millions of dollars. So anyway, they're going to Oakland this week, and I'm just going to tell you right now, they're going to lose. I think the point spread is 5.5. If I was you, I would take the Raiders, given the points. You know, it's a sad situation. I've been a Falcon fan since 1970. Except for a few brief spurts, this team has always stunk. And the goal this year is for them to lose as many games as possible so Dan Quinn can get fired. I mean, that's what we're after. And then, Mr. Blank, you need to call Ted Turner, and you need to talk to Ted. See, when Ted Turner bought the Braves in 1975, he had his fingers in the pie all the time. He even made himself the manager one time. Major League Baseball had to step in. Well, in 1990, the Braves have been a complete disaster, all except for the season in 1982. And something happened, though, in that offseason between 1990 and 1991. You know what that was? Ted Turner started dating Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
Ted Turner started dating Jane, and old Jane, she ain't really a baseball fan, if you know what I'm saying. So she ain't interested in going to the ballpark. So Ted decides that he has to go out and get some people to run the team. So what's he do? He hires John Sherholtz, general manager from the Kansas City Royals that won the World Series in 1985, and he rehires Bobby Cox as the manager. And Ted doesn't come to the ballpark anymore, and guess what happens? You know, we go to 5 World Series in a decade, win one, and go to the playoffs every year. So, Arthur, you know, you need to go take inventory at Home Depot and let these guys run the team. Because, I mean, look, you're a nice Jewish boy, and I'm just going to tell you, Jewish boys do not make good football players, and they certainly don't make good team owners as well. All right. The Georgia Bulldogs opened up 2 weeks ago against North Carolina Tar Heels and looked impressive in a 33-22 win in the Georgia Dome. Nick Chubb rushing for 222 yards. Freshman sensation Nick Eason came in to play quarterback, and he looked good, but he did make some freshman mistakes. So Bulldog fans were smiling big and bright when the Bulldogs went on to take on Nicholls State, a small school in Louisiana, this past Saturday. And the Bulldogs should have won this game by 60 points. Instead, they had to hang on for dear life, winning the game 26-24. Let me tell you something. In the last 6 years, Nicholls State has gone 9-48, and that is against low-level competition. Last year, they won 3 games. The year before that, they didn't win any. This Saturday night, the Bulldogs travel to Missouri to open up SEC play against the Missouri Tigers. And Bulldog fans are wondering what team is going to show up. The team against North Carolina or the team against Nicholls State. So we'll see. We'll see. That's going to be an interesting game, and I'm looking forward to watching it. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, they opened up their season over in Ireland and came from behind to beat Boston College 17-14. On that last drive, they converted a 4th and 20 to go on to win that game, and that was certainly huge. They came home last week, and they handled Mercer 35-10. And this Saturday, the Vanderbilt Commodores will be coming into Grant Field at Bobby Dodd Stadium. And this is a game that Georgia Tech should win and can win. And let's hope they stay focused, because next Thursday night on the Flats, the Clemson Tigers, who made it all the way to the national championship game, will be coming into Atlanta. And this is going to be a big game. It's going to be a sellout, which doesn't happen a lot at Georgia Tech. And I know the Georgia Tech fans are excited about that. Let's hope that the Yellow Jackets are not overlooking this game and looking ahead to Clemson. And finally, in sports, we have Colin Kaepernick, the guy that won't stand for the national anthem. And now he's got other players in the league that won't stand for it either. You know, and a lot of people are really upset about this. But, you know, I've kind of noticed that, you know, a lot of people, and I'm not going to categorize them, but you can guess who they are, you know, they are all for freedom until somebody displays a freedom that they don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? If you don't believe me, just ask Larry Flint. When Larry Flint started publishing Hustler magazine, you know, I mean, he went to jail and they took it off the shelves. And the bottom line was like his lawyer said, look, I don't agree with what Mr. Flint does, but I am glad that I live in a country where Mr. Flint has the freedom to express himself. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And you know, it's like my mother used to tell me when I would tell her my sisters bothered me. If you'll ignore her, she'll quit. You know? But that's not happening here. It's news every single week. But let me just tell you something. If you're one of those people out there that think that the rebel flag is okay, the Confederate flag, and you're okay with flying it in places and honoring it in ways, you got no business being mad at Colin Kaepernick for not standing up for the national anthem. Because people like you is why he's not standing up in the first place. All right, we're going to take another little break. We'll be right back.
Be a part of our family, bringing the hearts of America together. Please contact us. We thank you for your support. Become a part of our family of supporters today. Call 904-229-8150. That's 904-229-8150. Call today at 904-229-8150. Please visit us at www.americanheartsradio.com.
All right. We're back. Okay. Man, time flies when you're having fun and you don't have any guess about that. So, you know, in most towns, you know, most little towns have got a slogan, you know, and most of these town slogans, especially down here in the South, they're warm and inviting. You know, like the town of Snellville, it says, Snellville, where everybody's somebody. Now, that's the kind of slogan right there that just kind of makes anybody want to move into the community. Well, a little while back, Alpharetta split, and part of Alpharetta split into a new city called Johns Creek. Are you familiar with Johns Creek? Okay, Johns Creek is a very affluent neighborhood. In fact, it has the highest median income per family of any city in Georgia. Now, that's because Buckhead is not a city. You know, Buckhead always wants to be a city, and the Atlanta City Council just laughs at him and says, you think we're going to let you keep those tax dollars? You can forget it. You know, you're staying in the city of Atlanta. $88,000 a year is the median income in Johns Creek. Now, I've done a lot of work in Johns Creek, and I know people in Johns Creek, and they're good folks, and what I'm about to tell you is not evident of the way these people feel, but it is evident of the way that their government feels. They're a city council and their mayor and everybody else. So the city slogan for Johns Creek, and I'm not making this up, the city slogan for Johns Creek is Johns Creek, be the exception. Can you believe the balls on these people? Let me tell you what it really ought to say. Johns Creek, be white and educated. That's what it says. Where white people live. Johns Creek, Democrats stay out. You know, I mean, come on, man. It sounds like a Cadillac commercial, right? You know? I mean, I just don't get it. Let me tell you what I would do, though. If I won the lottery, you know, Powerball, $260 million, something like that, I would go into Johns Creek and I would buy the house right across the street from the mayor. And while he's at work, I would have it painted pink, purple, and yellow polka dots put on it. And then I'd put a sign in my front yard and say, "You be the exception." That's what I would do. All right. Now, I've been part of the local Atlanta music scene for a long time, and I've seen it change. You know, when I was in high school, cover bands were the way to go. And then in 1980, the original music scene hit big here in Atlanta with bands like REM and the Georgia Satellites and Driving and Crying and the Producers and the Indigo Girls and the Black Crows, all getting major record deals and getting out there and playing all over the world and producing some big hits. And the original music is still big in Atlanta, but the trend now is starting to change. And the trend is changing to tribute bands. Are you aware of this?
Yes.
Tribute bands are huge in this country. I was told by somebody the other day that the Fleetwood Mac tribute band Rumors, which is very good, are playing some shows where they are getting paid $8,000 a gig. That's right. That's right. So, you know, and I had Steven Skipper, who has one of the best Rolling Stone tribute bands you will find, Steven Skipper's Rolling Stone Tribute, and he is very talented at what he does and does a super job. You know, and don't get me wrong, a lot of these musicians are super talented. You've got to be to be able to pull this off and demand that kind of money. But I got to ask you, you know, if you're playing in a tribute band or you're going to see a tribute band, where's the risk involved? You know, where is the risk involved? You know, I mean, you're playing stuff that has been market tested on people. You know, they like it. You know, they like it. People are going to see something that they know. You know, one of the definitions of art is taking a risk. You know, putting something out there that you think is good. And you don't know if anybody else thinks it's good. You hope they do. But even if they don't, if you're a true artist, you're not going to change it. Because that's just the way it is. There's not a lot of creativity in these tribute bands. I mean, don't get me wrong, but the rehearsals, I'm sure, were brutal. They got to get all the moves, the looks, and everything a lot more detailed, probably, than the original bands. Except for the part where in the original band, somebody sits down with a guitar and pulls an idea out of their head and creates a song that nobody has ever heard. That is the part that is missing there. So, you know, I have never seen a tribute band. I have never been to see one. You know, I know there's one for AC/DC, one for Bon Jovi, one for Fleetwood Mac. I mean, they're everywhere. You know, there's so many of them that it's not going to be long before we're going to have tribute bands for tribute bands. That is the direction that we're heading. But what does that say about us old rockers, man? And, you know, that we're not willing to go out and take a chance to see a band up there playing their own stuff, that we'd just rather listen to 97.1 The River, hear songs that we've heard a million times, go out and see bands pretending to be these bands, playing these songs. It's kind of sad. And that is why that is why rock music is not progressing. Did you know that at the Grammy Awards, the award for Best Rock Act is given out at the banquet the night before? What? It is not even given out at the ceremony. It is not worthy. It is right up there with the classical album of the year. That is what has happened to rock and roll. You know, when I was young, I always heard that rock and roll will never die. Well, you know, there's always been something to keep it going. There was Elvis. Then there was the Beatles. Then there was the psychedelic era. And then in the 70s, you had everything. Hard rock, pop rock, punk rock, disco. In the 1980s, the new wave explosion in MTV put rock on a whole nother level. In the 1990s, the grunge bands from Seattle, Nirvana. And that's not counting all the great African-American music that was coming along in that era now. But now, it's been about 20 years since something's really grabbed young people and said, man, I've just got to have this record. I don't know if it's going to change or not. But when Dennis Aloia comes back, I'm sure he'll have the answers for all of the things that I've said tonight to set the record straight. Until then, I am Chris Massey. Dennis Aloia will be back next month. And thank you for tuning in to Keeping It Real. See you next time.